I used to think love was simple. You give your heart, and it's enough. I was wrong. Clara. I called from the kitchen, stirring the soup she liked, the one with too much garlic and not enough salt. You're late again. No answer. Just the click of the door closing behind her. Her heels tapped slowly across the floor. Not the usual rush, not the hum under her breath. Just silence. Long day? I asked, wiping my hands. Dinner's almost. Adrian, she cut me off. Her voice sounded foreign. We need to talk. Something in my chest tightened. That's never a good start, I said with a half laugh. What's wrong? She didn't smile. She didn't even look at me. Her coat was still on, her eyes fixed on the window instead of me. I can't do this anymore. The words hit like glass breaking inside my head. Can't, do what? This, she said softly. Us. I tried to laugh, but my voice came out cracked. That's not funny, Clara. It's not a joke. I waited for her to take it back. For her lips to tremble, for her to say she was just tired. But she didn't. She stood there, eyes dry, heart gone. You're serious? My voice shook. After everything? After 4 years? I met someone, she said. No hesitation. He can give me what I want. What you can't. My throat burned. Who? Marcus Reed. That name. I'd heard it before. A client. Wealthy, older. The kind of man who owned the kind of life we only dreamed of. I stared at her. You said he was arrogant. You said he made you uncomfortable. She looked away. I was wrong. A laugh escaped me, hollow, too sharp. You're leaving me for him. I'm not asking for your permission, she whispered. I just thought you deserved honesty. Honesty? I took a step toward her. After lying to me for how long? Don't make this harder. Oh, I'm sorry, I snapped. Didn't realize you were the one suffering here. Adrian. Say it, I demanded. Say you don't love me anymore. She hesitated. Then, I don't. Everything in me went quiet. Even the city noise outside faded. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to beg, but all I could do was whisper, why now? Because I can't keep pretending. Her voice softened for the first time. You're good, Adrian. Too good. But I need more. More money. More status. More, everything, she said. I'm tired of waiting for someday. I turned away, laughing under my breath. Someday was supposed to be ours. I was doing this for us. I know, she whispered, and that hurt the most, that she knew, and still chose to leave. I gripped the edge of the counter. Tell me what I did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong, she said. You just weren't enough. Her words tore through me like slow fire. Not enough, I repeated. That's honest, at least. She took a step closer, like she might comfort me, but stopped halfway. Maybe even she couldn't bear to touch the man she'd already decided to leave. Clara, look at me, I said quietly. Do you even feel guilty? I do, she whispered. But guilt doesn't change what I want. I laughed again, shaking my head. You always said love wasn't about things. I was younger then. And now you're wiser. I asked, my voice sharp. Now you trade hearts for houses. Stop it, Adrian. I just want to understand, I said. Because I gave you everything I could. Every hour. Every piece of me. She closed her eyes. That's the problem. I don't want pieces. I want a life. I stared at her, this woman I thought I knew. The one who used to steal my hoodies, leave notes on the fridge, fall asleep mid-sentence. Now she stood there, stranger and executioner in the same body. Does he make you happy? I asked finally. I think he will. You think, I repeated. Then go find out. Her eyes flickered, maybe regret, maybe relief. She turned to leave, hesitated at the door. I hope someday you'll understand. I wanted to tell her I never would. That some things don't need understanding, they just break you quietly until nothing's left. But I said nothing. Just watched her hand linger on the doorknob before she walked away. The door shut with a sound I'll never forget, not loud, not final, just empty. The soup boiled over behind me, but I didn't move. I stood there, listening to the silence filling the space she used to occupy. My phone buzzed, Daniel's name. I didn't answer. What could I say? That love just ended between two heartbeats. I walked into the living room and sat on the couch. Her perfume still hung in the air. A photo frame lay on the table, our trip to the coast last summer. I picked it up, traced her smile with my thumb, then set it face down. I hope he's worth it, I whispered. The apartment felt smaller without her, or maybe I was the one shrinking. Somewhere outside, the city moved on, people laughing, lights flickering, lives continuing. But in that moment, mine stopped. And for the first time, I realized, love doesn't die in a fight, or a betrayal. It dies in silence, when one person stops trying. And she had stopped long before she said the words. I stopped counting the days after she left. Morning, night, they all felt the same. Empty. The soup I made that night still sat in the fridge until it turned gray. Her mug stayed on the counter. I couldn't throw it away. It felt like admitting she'd never walk back through that door. Daniel called. Again. I let it ring. Pick up, his voice came through the voicemail, rough as sandpaper. You can't hide forever, man. Hide. I wasn't hiding. I was sinking. When he finally showed up, I didn't even get off the couch. He stood by the door, staring at the mess. Jesus, Adrian. When's the last time you opened a window? Windows are overrated. My voice cracked from disuse. They just let light in. He sighed. And air. You look like a corpse. Get up. I'm fine. Yeah. You smell like grief and instant coffee. I almost laughed, but it came out as a cough. She took everything but left the smell. Daniel sat across from me, rubbing his temples. I know it hurts, but you can't keep doing this. Doing what? I stared at the ceiling. Breathing. Rotting. The word hit hard. I turned to him. You think I want this? No. I think you're stuck. I closed my eyes. She said she needed more. Maybe she was right. Stop it. He leaned forward. She traded love for luxury. That's not your fault. I didn't answer. What could I say? He didn't see the way she used to look at me. Or how that look vanished months before she said goodbye. He stood, walked to the window, and yanked it open. Cold air flooded in. You're coming out. Now. I'm not in the mood for a pity walk. Good. I'm not offering pity. He threw my jacket at me. Get up or I'll drag you. I stared at him, half angry, half grateful. You're insufferable. Better than invisible, he shot back. Outside, the city buzzed like nothing had changed. People laughed, cars honked, life kept moving, cruelly indifferent. Daniel shoved his hands in his pockets. Coffee first. You look like you forgot what real caffeine tastes like. At the cafe, whispers floated from a nearby table. Did you hear? Clara Vaughn moved in with Marcus Reed. The cup slipped from my hand. Hot coffee splashed across the table. Daniel cursed under his breath. Ignore it. I couldn't. My pulse pounded in my ears. She moved in with him. Daniel didn't answer. His silence said enough. I forced a laugh. That was fast. She's chasing comfort, not love, he muttered. Same thing to some people. He leaned closer. Don't do this, Adrian. Don't let her keep living in your head. She already does, I whispered. Rent-free. He didn't argue. Maybe he knew nothing he said could fix it. When we got back, I told him to leave. I'll be fine, I lied. He hesitated. Call me tomorrow. I will. I didn't. That night, I sat at my desk, opened a notebook, and wrote her name. Clara. Just that. Then I kept writing. I hope you're happy. He probably buys you champagne now, not the cheap wine we used to drink. Do you laugh the same way? Do you think of me at all? I tore the page out. Started again. I hate you. I hate what you turned me into. Another page gone. Maybe I deserved it. My handwriting trembled. I crumpled the paper and tossed it into the corner. The floor was littered with unsent letters, apologies, accusations, confessions. Every word a bruise I kept pressing. The night stretched on. I didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Just wrote until the ink ran dry. By dawn, my hands shook. I looked around, clothes on chairs, dishes stacked like tombstones, shadows of a life that used to mean something. I whispered to the silence, "Are you proud of me now, Clara?" No answer. Just the hum of the refrigerator. Daniel texted around noon. Daniel, still alive? Me, define alive. Daniel, you need air. Come to the studio. Mr. Ellis asked about you. Me, tell him I'm dead. Daniel, if you were dead, I'd be drinking your whiskey right now. Get up, man. I stared at the screen, then tossed the phone aside. The days blurred. Morning coffee, sleepless nights, endless letters I never sent. Every time I tried to move, her voice echoed, "I need more." One evening, I caught my reflection in the dark window, hollow eyes, unshaved jaw, someone I barely recognized. I whispered, "Is this what you wanted?" The reflection didn't answer. But deep down, I knew she wouldn't recognize me either. Daniel showed up again a few days later. No warning this time. He slammed a grocery bag on the counter. "You're eating, or I swear I'll feed you myself." "Don't," I muttered. "Shut up and chew." He threw me an apple. It rolled off the table and hit the floor. He groaned. Hopeless. "I'm fine," I lied again. "You're talking to ghosts, Adrian." I stared at him. At least ghosts don't leave. His face softened. "She's not coming back." "I know." "Then stop waiting." I swallowed hard. "I'm not waiting. I'm just remembering." "Same thing," he said quietly. He stayed that night. Didn't talk much, just sat across from me, watching some mindless show. The silence between us felt different, less suffocating, more human. When he finally left, he paused at the door. "Tomorrow. You're getting out. Even if I have to drag you again." "Sure," I said, but my voice barely carried. After he left, I picked up one of the letters from the floor. The last one. It read, "You left for a better life. I hope you find it. Because I don't know if I'll ever find mine." I folded it carefully, slipped it into a drawer, and closed it. The apartment was still silent, but the air felt a little less heavy. Maybe because, for the first time, I'd said the truth, even if she'd never hear it. "Adrian." Mr. Ellis's voice cracked through the silence of his office like dry wood snapping. He didn't look at me right away, just tapped a pencil against his desk, eyes fixed on a set of unfinished blueprints. "You've been gone long enough." I swallowed. "I didn't think you'd want me back." He sighed, slow and deliberate. "Want you back? Adrian, I need you back. But not as this ghost sitting in front of me. You either start living, or you disappear completely. Your choice." His words stung because they were true. "I don't know if I can." "You don't have to know," he said, finally meeting my eyes. "You just have to try." He slid a folder across the desk. A small project. Simple structure. No deadlines yet. I stared at the folder like it might burn me. "What if I mess it up?" He leaned forward. "Then you mess it up beautifully. But at least you'll feel something again." The room went quiet. All I could hear was the faint hum of the AC and my own heartbeat, dull and uncertain. "All right," I whispered. "I'll try." He smiled, barely, but it was real. "Good. I was starting to forget what your voice sounded like." That evening, I sat in front of my drafting table. The pencil felt heavier than I remembered. My fingers hesitated over the blank sheet before the first line found its way down. Then another. Curves. Angles. Spaces coming alive. For the first time in months, my breathing found rhythm. "Still alive, I see," Daniel said from the doorway. I didn't look up. "Barely." He stepped in, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Ellis told me he pulled you out of the grave." I half smiled. "Guess he's digging in the right places." Daniel handed me a cup. "Good. Because I'm done watching you rot." "Touching," I muttered. He smirked. "You're welcome." "Oh, and you'll thank me later, I might have volunteered you for something." My pencil stopped. "What did you do?" "There's this artist working on murals for the lobby, Evelyn. She needs someone to adjust the architectural flow around her designs. I told her you'd help." I frowned. "I don't do people anymore." He laughed. "She's not people. She's quieter than you. You'll survive." I met her 2 days later. Evelyn was standing on a ladder, a paintbrush in her hand, strands of hair escaping her messy bun. Her mural, half finished, stretched across the wall like a sunrise trapped in cement. "Adrian?" she asked, glancing down. "Yeah," I said. "You must be Evelyn." She nodded once. "Daniel said you'd come." Her voice was calm, low, but not cold. She studied me like she was trying to read the spaces between my words. "I'm not great at small talk," I admitted. "Good," she said. "Neither am I." Something about that made me laugh, the first real laugh I'd had in months. She smiled faintly, then turned back to her wall. "What's the concept?" I asked, stepping closer. "Reconstruction," she said. "A building rising after the storm." My chest tightened. "Fitting." She dipped her brush in white paint. "You've been through one." Still standing in the wreckage, I said before I could stop myself. She paused, brush hovering. "Then maybe this will help you build again." Her words lingered longer than they should have. Days blurred again, but differently this time. I worked on designs in the morning, adjusting support lines around her murals, and stayed late just to watch her paint. She never asked about Clara. Never filled the silence with pity. When I forgot to speak, she didn't push. She just existed beside me, steady, quiet, patient. One night, as we packed up, she asked, "Do you ever draw for yourself?" "Not anymore." "You should," she said. "You look alive when you hold a pencil." Alive. I hadn't thought of myself that way in so long that the word almost hurt. "I don't know where to start," I admitted. She smiled gently. "Start anywhere. The paper doesn't care what you've lost." When I got home that night, I didn't reach for the whiskey. I reached for my sketchbook. My hand trembled, but the line came anyway, uneven, messy, human. And for the first time since Clara left, I didn't tear the page out. Did you hear? Daniel's voice came out of nowhere, slicing through the hum of the office. I looked up from my sketch, blinking. Hear what? He hesitated. That alone told me it wasn't good. Clara, he said finally. She's engaged. To Marcus Reed. The pencil slipped from my hand. Engaged? He nodded, eyes flicking toward the floor. It's all over social media. A friend from HR mentioned it. For a moment, the world turned strangely quiet, like sound itself had left the room. My throat burned, but I managed a small, crooked smile. Good for her. Daniel frowned. Adrian. No, really, I said, cutting him off. She wanted more. She found it. That's good. The lie tasted clean this time, no bitterness, just emptiness. He watched me for a long second. You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt. I'm not pretending, I murmured. I'm just done bleeding over it. He didn't believe me, but he didn't push either. When he left, the silence stayed behind, heavier than before. That night, sleep refused to come. I sat on the couch, laptop open, light flickering across the room. Her face appeared on the screen, Clara in a silk dress, diamonds glittering around her neck. Marcus beside her, tall, confident, his arm around her waist. They looked perfect. I zoomed in without meaning to. Her eyes sparkled the way they used to when she looked at me. Pathetic, I muttered under my breath. My reflection stared back from the black edge of the screen, tired eyes, hollow cheeks, a man watching his ghost love someone else. For the first time, I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. Like the ache had burned itself out. Maybe I'd been mourning a version of her that never really existed, the one I built in my head, piece by fragile piece. I shut the laptop, exhaled, and whispered to the dark, "Goodbye, Clara." The next evening, I stayed late at the site. Evelyn was still there, painting under the dull glow of the overhead lamps. The smell of acrylic filled the air, sharp but oddly comforting. "You're here again," she said without turning. "Couldn't sleep," I replied. She dipped her brush into deep blue, spreading it across the wall in slow, calm strokes. "Bad dreams?" "Worse. Real ones." She looked at me then, eyes soft. "You saw something." "Clara's engagement," I said. "To Marcus." Her brush froze mid-air. "The CEO?" I nodded. "Yeah. The one she used to call soulless." Evelyn's lips curved slightly, not in mockery, more like quiet understanding. People change masks fast when they're afraid of being alone. I leaned against the scaffolding, watching her paint. I thought I'd be furious. But I'm not. Just empty. "That's the first step," she said. "To what?" "To letting go." She cleaned her brush, her movement slow, deliberate. "Pain doesn't end when they leave, Adrian. It ends when you stop giving them power." Her words landed like a quiet truth I'd been too afraid to speak. I sat on the floor beside her wall, pulling out my sketch pad. "I don't even know who I was before her." "Then draw until you remember," she said. The hours slipped by. She painted in silence, I drew without thought, lines forming shapes that made sense only to me. At some point, she murmured, "You're breathing softer." "Am I?" "Yes," she said. "That's how healing sounds." Something loosened in my chest, something I hadn't realized I was holding. I looked at her mural, light emerging from fractured stone, and whispered, "It's beautiful." "It's survival," she said simply. Later, at home, I opened my journal. The pages smelled faintly of graphite and coffee, traces of the man I used to be. I wrote slowly, each word careful, deliberate. I will live better. Not for revenge, not to prove anything. For me. The sentence looked too small to hold so much meaning, but it was enough. I closed the book and let the quiet fill the room, not the heavy kind that used to suffocate me, but a lighter, steady silence. Outside, dawn was starting to bleed through the curtains, soft and silver. For the first time, I didn't dread the morning. Adrian. Mr. Ellis's voice snapped me out of focus. I'd been lost in lines and shapes again, the kind of deep work where time stopped meaning anything. He stood in the doorway, a faint smile beneath his gray beard. You've outdone yourself this quarter. I blinked. What do you mean? He stepped closer, holding up the proposal file. The Harborfront project, they loved your design. They want you to lead the architectural team. For a heartbeat, I couldn't move. Lead architect? That's what I said, he chuckled. You've earned it. You either start living or you disappear, remember? A slow grin broke across my face. I guess I finally started living. Good, he said, clapping my shoulder. You were never meant to fade. When Daniel found out, he barged into my office without knocking. So, lead architect Adrian, huh? I laughed, spinning in my chair. Don't start. Oh, I'm starting. You were a ghost a few months ago. Now you're getting promoted and smiling like it's 2018 again. I shook my head. Maybe I just got tired of being miserable. He leaned against my desk. Evelyn's influence, I bet. I raised an eyebrow. What makes you say that? He smirked. You talk different now. Quieter. Lighter. That's what happens when someone listens without trying to fix you. I tried not to smile, but failed. We've just been spending time together. She paints, I design. It's simple. Daniel laughed. Simple looks good on you. Weeks blurred into soft moments, long workdays, late-night dinners with Evelyn, laughter echoing between half-finished murals. We'd sit on the floor of her studio, take out boxes between us, paint stains on her fingers. One night, she said, "You don't talk about your past anymore." I looked up. Because I finally realized it doesn't deserve my breath. She smiled, the kind of small, knowing smile that didn't need words. We talked about art, dreams, failure, everything except the wound that once ruled my life. When she painted, I watched in silence. When I sketched, she hummed softly beside me. It was enough. Then one afternoon, I looked up from my desk and saw her, Clara. My chest didn't tighten. My heart didn't race. It just paused. She stood at the door, hesitant smile, familiar perfume cutting through the air like déjà vu. Adrian, she said, voice too light. Clara, I replied. It's been a while. It has, she said, walking in. I was in the building for a meeting with Marcus. I didn't know you worked here. I smiled faintly. You didn't? She faltered. Well, I did, but I didn't realize how successful you'd become. I leaned back in my chair, calm. People change. Her eyes scanned the framed designs on the wall, my awards, blueprints, sketches. You've changed, she said softly. So have you. She took a slow breath. You look happy. I am. Silence stretched between us, the kind that once used to hurt. Now it just existed. Clara shifted. I didn't expect you'd move on so fast. I smiled. Neither did I. But turns out, I wasn't moving on, I was moving up. She blinked, uncertain whether it was pride or peace in my tone. You always had that drive. I just chose someone who could offer you more, I finished, not bitterly, just truthfully. She winced. Adrian, I never meant to hurt you. I know, I said gently. But you did. And I'm still thankful. Her brows furrowed. Thankful? I nodded. You leaving forced me to remember who I was before I built my world around someone else. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she whispered, I miss what we had. I looked at her, the same eyes, the same lips, the same familiar tone, and felt absolutely nothing. I don't, I said quietly. She flinched, but I didn't look away. I don't mean that cruelly, I continued. I just mean. I finally found peace in the person I became without you. Her gaze dropped. Marcus isn't. I held up a hand. Clara, you don't owe me explanations. Whatever your life is now, it's yours. I don't wish you harm. I just wish you clarity. Her voice trembled. You sound like someone else. Maybe I finally am. She hesitated, then turned to leave. At the door, she said softly, you were always the better man. I smiled. I just learned to stop proving it. After she left, Daniel peeked into my office, eyes wide. Was that who I think it was? Yeah, I said, exhaling slowly. The ghost finally showed up. He grinned. And? I didn't feel a thing. Daniel let out a low whistle. Now that's growth. Or peace, I said. Maybe both. That night, I met Evelyn by the river. The city lights shimmered on the water like broken stars. She noticed my quiet. Rough day. Not rough, I said. Just, full circle. Her brow lifted. You saw her. I nodded. It felt like watching an old film I used to love, then realizing I outgrew it. Evelyn smiled faintly. That's how healing looks, not dramatic, just still. Still, I repeated, tasting the word. Yeah. That's it. We stood there a long time, the wind soft around us, the silence gentle. I glanced at her and said, thank you. For what? For reminding me that life doesn't end when someone leaves. She looked at me, eyes glinting under the streetlight. It never does. It just waits for you to come back. I smiled, really smiled this time. Then I guess I'm back. The river shimmered, and for the first time, I believed it. Did you hear? Daniel leaned across the cafe table, eyes bright with gossip. I stirred my coffee. Probably not. I've been buried in blueprints all week. He lowered his voice. Marcus Reed. His company's under investigation, fraud, embezzlement, the whole circus. I froze, spoon midair. You're serious? Dead serious, he said. It's all over the business feeds. And guess who's been conveniently off social media for 2 weeks? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Daniel grinned. Clara must be losing it. I sighed, setting the spoon down. Don't, Daniel. What? You're telling me you don't feel even a little satisfaction? I looked out the window at the people passing by, strangers laughing, moving, living. No, I said finally. I just feel, nothing. He shook his head. You're either enlightened or lying. Maybe both, I said quietly. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a message from Lila, one of Clara's old colleagues. Hey, Adrian. I hope you're well. Clara's been asking about you, a lot. She's not doing great. I stared at the screen. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then came back. She said she tried reaching you, but you never responded. I typed back, she's right. After a pause, Lila sent one more, she misses you. I read it twice, then deleted the entire conversation. That evening, I told Daniel. She's reaching out now, he asked, jaw tight. Of course she is. When the castle falls, they always remember the ones who built with real bricks. I half smiled. That's poetic. It's justice, he said. You should let her see how far you've come. No, I said. That's not necessary. Daniel frowned. Why not? Because this isn't about revenge anymore, I said. It's about peace. He tilted his head. You're too calm for someone who just heard karma knocking. I leaned back, eyes tracing the ceiling lights. That's not karma, Daniel. That's just life balancing itself out. For days, messages trickled in, unknown numbers, half-familiar words. Can we talk? I'm sorry. Please, Adrian. I didn't reply. I didn't even feel tempted. Once upon a time, I would have dropped everything to hear her voice. Now, her name on my screen looked foreign, like an address I'd long moved away from. At work, Evelyn noticed my distraction. You're quieter than usual, she said, brushing paint off her hands. Just thinking, I said. About her? I hesitated, then nodded. News travels fast. She smiled faintly. It always does when the universe decides to teach symmetry. I chuckled. That's one way to put it. She set her brush down. Do you want her to suffer? No. Evelyn tilted her head. You sure? Yes, I said firmly. I just want her to understand. That love isn't currency. That leaving someone doesn't mean winning. She studied me for a moment, then whispered, you already won. The moment you stopped needing an ending. Her words sank in, soft and sure. That night, I walked home alone through the city, the same streets I once dragged my heart through after she left. The air smelled of rain and fresh asphalt. Neon lights flickered against puddles. I remembered the way Clara used to clutch my arm when cars splashed too close, the way she'd laugh and say, "You're my calm in chaos." Now the chaos was hers. And my calm was mine. At home, I sat by the window, scrolling through my inbox. A new message blinked at the top, from Clara H. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Instead, I closed the laptop and turned off the light. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, low, steady, inevitable. I whispered to the dark, we all build our storms. The next morning, Daniel called. So, what are you gonna do? Nothing, I said. Nothing? Yes. She made her choices. I made mine. That's all. He whistled. You're colder than karma itself. I laughed quietly. No, Daniel. I'm just done being angry. There was a pause. Then he said, softer, I'm proud of you, man. You found peace in the middle of the wreck. Maybe peace isn't found, I said. Maybe it's what's left when the fire's done burning. He chuckled. You should write that down. Already did, I said, glancing at my notebook on the desk. What's next then? He asked. I looked at the rising sun outside the window, golden light spilling over the city skyline. Living, I said simply. And for once, the word didn't feel heavy. It felt real. The rain started around dusk, soft at first, then heavy enough to blur the streetlights. I was sketching by the window when the doorbell rang. I didn't move right away. Nobody ever came unannounced anymore. The bell rang again. When I opened the door, she was standing there, soaked, shivering, mascara bleeding into the corners of her eyes. Clara, I said. She blinked through the rain. I didn't know where else to go. I stepped aside silently. She hesitated, then entered. Water pooled beneath her heels. I shouldn't have come, she whispered. But I had to. I closed the door behind her. Sit down. You're dripping everywhere. She half laughed, half sobbed. Still the same. Calm, polite, impossible to read. I've had practice. I handed her a towel. Tea. She nodded weakly. If it's not too much trouble. While the kettle hissed, she spoke, her voice brittle and uneven. He used me, Adrian. Everything. My connections, my work, she choked, pressing the towel to her face. I thought he loved me. I didn't answer. The kettle whistled. When I returned, she was staring at her reflection in the window. You must hate me, she said softly. I set the cup in front of her. No, I said. I don't. You should. Maybe once, I said. But not anymore. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around the mug. You always made things simple. I complicated everything. I sat across from her, watching the steam rise between us. Why are you here, Clara? She looked up sharply. I told you. No, I interrupted. That's what happened to you. I'm asking why you're here. She swallowed hard. Because I can't sleep. Because every time I close my eyes, I see your face. And it's not anger, it's disappointment. It's worse. I stayed quiet. She wiped her tears roughly. I thought I knew what happiness looked like. Money, travel, success, him. But every part of it was built on lies. And now? I asked. Now it's all gone. I nodded slowly. That's how truth works. It clears everything that doesn't belong. Her lips quivered. You sound peaceful. I am, I said simply. She gave a faint, broken laugh. That's what hurts the most. You're okay, and she gestured to herself, soaked, hollow, lost. That's not my doing, I said gently. You chose your road. I know. She looked down. I was cruel. You were human, I said. Her eyes met mine, desperate, pleading. Can you ever forgive me? Yes. She froze. Just like that? Yes, I said again. Because holding on only keeps the wound open. I'm done bleeding. Tears spilled freely now. I don't deserve that. It's not about what you deserve, I said. It's about what I need to let go of. She exhaled shakily, as if the words themselves gave her permission to breathe. Then she whispered, Do you still love me? I didn't flinch. I did, deeply. But love doesn't always mean return. Her voice cracked. I wish I'd known that sooner. Me too, I said softly. But maybe this was the only way we'd both learn. She reached across the table, fingers trembling. If I asked for another chance. I stopped her with a small shake of my head. Don't. Her lips parted, but no words came. Only silence, the kind that fills a room when there's nothing left to say. After a while, I stood. You should go. The rain's slowing down. She rose slowly, setting the empty cup aside. You really mean it, don't you? You forgive me, but you don't want me back. I mean it, I said. I wish you healing, Clara. Truly. She bit her lip hard, nodding. You were always the better one. No, I said. Just the one who finally learned to stop fighting the storm. When she reached the door, she turned once more. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For letting me see who you became. Then she stepped out into the rain. I watched from the doorway as she walked down the street, slow, uncertain, fading into the blur of streetlights. There was no anger, no satisfaction. Just quiet release. When I closed the door, the silence felt clean. For the first time in years, the air inside didn't carry her echo. A soft knock came a few minutes later. I opened it to find Evelyn standing there, holding a small paper bag. You forgot your sketchbook at the studio, she said, smiling faintly. Her eyes flicked past me to the still steaming mugs on the table. Company? An old chapter, I said. Ah, she murmured, stepping inside. And was it rewritten or closed? Closed, I said quietly. She nodded, placing the sketchbook down. Closure, then. Yes. Her smile deepened, gentle, knowing. You look lighter. I feel lighter, I said. Evelyn studied me for a moment, then spoke softly. Forgiveness doesn't change the past. No, I said, meeting her gaze. But it changes what I carry from it. She exhaled, almost in relief. Then maybe it's time you draw something new. I looked at the window, rain still sliding down in soft, silver trails. Maybe I already have. We stood there quietly for a moment. The thunder had faded. The city lights shimmered against the wet pavement, and somewhere in the distance, a new song played, faint but steady. I smiled. Strange, I said. It doesn't hurt anymore. Evelyn touched my shoulder gently. That's not strange. That's healing. And in that stillness, I realized she was right. Because even as the night whispered of endings, I could finally feel the calm weight of a beginning. The morning sunlight spilled across my desk, soft and clean, like the start of something that had waited patiently for me to arrive. Daniel leaned against the doorway, arms folded. You're really doing it, huh? I smiled. Looks like it. Our own firm, he said, shaking his head. You sure you're ready for the chaos again? I think I've been ready for a while, I said. He grinned. Then let's burn the old blueprints and draw new ones. I laughed, a real laugh, not the kind that hid fatigue. That's the idea. By noon, the studio filled with people, clients, colleagues, friends. Evelyn's murals wrapped the walls like calm, breathing stories. Colors that once felt too loud now felt alive. She stood near the window, watching people move through the space. You did it, she said when I walked up. We did it, I corrected. Her smile softened. You always say that. Because it's true. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. You're glowing, you know. I think it's the lighting, I joked. She laughed quietly. No. It's peace. Before I could reply, Daniel's voice cut through the chatter. Adrian. Press wants a quote from the man of the hour. I rolled my eyes. They'll regret it. Evelyn nudged me forward. Go, she said. You've earned your moment. The photographer adjusted his lens. How does it feel to start your own firm? Like coming home, I said. After getting lost for a while. What's your vision? He asked. To build spaces that breathe, I said. Ones that remind people to live, not just exist. He nodded approvingly. Poetic. Daniel smirked behind him. He practices those lines in the mirror. I shot him a look. Every day. The group laughed, and the tension melted. Later, when most people had drifted to the refreshments table, I wandered to the far end of the gallery. That's when I saw her. Clara. She stood beside a booth for another company, modest dress, clipboard in hand, hair tied back. No diamonds, no noise, just quiet presence. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she noticed me. Her eyes widened slightly, then softened. She didn't smile, but she nodded, a small, almost invisible acknowledgement. I returned it, equally small, equally enough. Someone you know? Evelyn's voice came from behind me. I nodded. Someone I used to. She followed my gaze, then looked back at me. You okay? Yes, I said simply. I am. Evelyn studied my face for a second. You don't look angry. I'm not, I said. I think. I'm grateful. For what? For the wreckage, I said. Without it, I wouldn't have rebuilt. Evelyn tilted her head. That's very you. I smiled faintly. It's very us. You helped me remember what still mattered. She touched my arm lightly. Then promise me something, don't forget it again. I won't, I said. Daniel clapped his hands suddenly. Speech time. Everyone, stop pretending to network and pay attention. Groans and laughter rippled through the room. He grinned at me. Your turn, boss. I cleared my throat. This wasn't supposed to happen, I began. At least, not like this. For a long time, I thought losing everything meant the story was over. Turns out, it was just a redesign. A few people smiled. I've learned that life doesn't rebuild perfectly, it rebuilds differently. And sometimes, that difference is exactly what saves you. Applause filled the room. Evelyn's eyes shone from the back, quiet, steady pride. Later, when the crowd thinned, I stepped out onto the balcony. The city stretched wide beneath a setting sun, gold and endless. Daniel joined me, drink in hand. We actually pulled it off, he said. Barely, I said. He laughed. You're impossible to impress. I'm just, still catching up. With what? With being okay, I said. He nodded thoughtfully. You deserve that. For a long moment, we stood there without words. The city hummed below, alive and forgiving. When everyone finally left, I stayed behind. The studio was quiet now, just the soft glow of Evelyn's mural against the dimming light. I sat at my desk, opened my journal, and turned to the last empty page. The pen hovered for a moment before I began to write. She left for a better life. I built mine. The ink settled into the paper like a promise kept. I closed the book gently. Finished? Evelyn asked from the doorway. I looked up. Yeah. Feels strange, doesn't it? She said. What does? Ending something that used to define you. I nodded. It does. But it's not an ending. It's just a pause before something new. She smiled. Then maybe tomorrow we start sketching again. Tomorrow, I said. As she turned off the last light, the room slipped into soft gold shadows. I walked to the window one last time. Across the street, Clara was leaving her booth, head bowed, hands full of papers. For the first time, I didn't feel the old ache. Just stillness. I whispered, barely audible even to myself, peace. Then I stepped back into my space, my firm, my life, my circle completed. The silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. The night air was soft against my face, carrying the faint hum of the city below. The skyline shimmered, lights flickering like a heartbeat. Evelyn sat beside me on the balcony, legs tucked under her, a glass of wine in hand. You ever stop to look at what we built? She asked quietly. All the time, I said. It still doesn't feel real sometimes. It's been, what, 5 years? 6, I corrected, smiling faintly. 6 since I thought my world ended. She chuckled softly. And now look at you, the man who rebuilt it from ashes. Not alone, I said. You were there. Her gaze lingered on me. You would have made it anyway. You always had it in you. I shook my head. No. I had anger. You helped me turn it into something worth living for. She didn't reply right away. The silence stretched, gentle and warm. Below us, traffic murmured like an endless tide. I used to think revenge meant making someone suffer, I said finally. Evelyn tilted her head. And now? Now I know, the best revenge is peace. Her lips curved. That sounds like something you'd write in your journal. I smiled. Maybe I did. You always were a writer in disguise, she teased. I was just trying to make sense of pain. And did you? I thought for a moment. No. I didn't make sense of it. I just learned to live with it until it stopped hurting. She nodded slowly. That's what healing is. I leaned back in my chair, letting the city lights wash over me. Sometimes, I said, I still think of her. Evelyn looked at me, curious but calm. Clara? Yes. Do you miss her? I exhaled, watching the breath fade into the air. No. Not in the way I used to. I think of her the way I think of a storm. It passed, it changed me, and it's gone. Evelyn smiled faintly. Gratitude, then? Exactly, I said. She broke something I thought was unbreakable. But maybe that's what I needed. The cracks let the light in. She raised her glass. To the cracks, then. I clinked mine gently against hers. To the cracks. A breeze swept through, lifting a strand of her hair. I reached out, brushing it back without thinking. She didn't pull away. You know, she said softly, you've changed. Everyone says that. It's true. The man I met years ago couldn't stand silence. Now you seem to live in it. Silence used to feel like loss, I said. Now it feels like peace. Her eyes softened. You finally learned how to live. I smiled. Took me long enough. We sat quietly for a while. The world below us pulsed with life, cars, laughter, distant music. I thought about how far I'd come, from a dim apartment filled with ghosts to this, open air, steady love, and a life that fit. Evelyn traced her finger along the railing. Do you ever wish things had gone differently? I considered the question. No, I said at last. If they had, I wouldn't have found this version of myself. I wouldn't have found you. She looked down, a shy smile touching her lips. You always know what to say. I've had practice, I said, half laughing. Pain teaches poetry. Then I'm glad you healed enough to keep the poetry. I leaned closer. Me too. The clock inside chimed softly, midnight. The city glowed in gold and silver, restless but beautiful. Evelyn stood, stretching. Come inside. In a minute, I said. She nodded, brushing her hand over my shoulder before heading in. I stayed where I was, staring at the skyline, the same one I once looked at through tears, the same one that now felt like home. I whispered into the night, she left for a better life. And I built mine. The words didn't sting anymore. They felt true. When Evelyn called my name again, I turned, smiling. Coming, I said. And as I stepped inside, laughter and light wrapped around me, not the kind I once chased, but the kind I'd created. I had learned, finally, that peace wasn't the absence of pain. It was the presence of purpose. And I had both.